Workers in Sydney are being encouraged to return to offices in its CBD in a bid to revitalise the city. Many workers have capitalised on the convenience of working from home during the pandemic, much to the detriment of small businesses in the area. Joining us live now is the Executive Director of Business Sydney, Nicolaou. Paul, really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you. You wrote today that it's time to get back Sydney's mojo. How so? What's the city still missing, in your view, post-pandemic?
Well, Ash, thank you for the opportunity. We're seeing at the moment that most people are coming into work on Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, but staying at home and working from home on Monday and Friday. A city like Sydney, whether it's Sydney or Melbourne or Brisbane, can't flourish and can't be successful if people are working from home. We need to keep businesses going strong and we need to keep each of the economies going strong. So anything we can do to encourage, incentivise workers to come back is so important. And that's why we're calling on the governments of all persuasions with business to work together to incentivise workers to come back into the offices in each of our respective cities across Australia.
I assume this is improving though all the time. What do we actually know about the drop overall of foot traffic in Sydney? How low did it get and how quickly or slowly has it actually been recovering?
Look, when COVID hit, I mean, literally people were working from home because we were all encouraged to do so. But as things improved, we're seeing a large number of people coming back, but still not every day. And what we believe is that we are encouraging most people to come back at least 3 to 4 days a week, so that not only from the business perspective, businesses will survive and do well, but also from the well-being of workers. People want to work and want to deal with colleagues and work with colleagues face-to-face rather than doing it on Zoom or on Teams. And that's why it's important for the well-being of individuals, but also well-being of the success of businesses, but at the same time for us to have a very successful city and a wonderful city that we do have, and we need to ensure that we flourish as much as possible post-COVID.
The wellbeing argument though, Paul, that can be a tough one, can't it? I mean, you can see it might not be so attractive for a lot of people to make that long commute, especially people with young families. I'm imagining a long commute into the city when you're factoring in school drop-off and pick-up. It's just not logistically feasible for a lot of people these days, is it?
Oh, look, Ash, you're right, and it is difficult, and that's why we're saying not mandating, but we're encouraging. And I think it's important that we understand that if you're an essential worker, such as a nurse or a doctor or a cleaner or a firefighter or a policeman or a police person, you've got to come in at least 5 days a week. I think there needs to be an equity aspect driven into this argument, because there are a lot of people who are back at work and have to work because they can't do it online. And that's why we're looking at incentivising people to come back into the city, and that's why working with government and business is so important. I mean, the state government, the local government and federal governments have all done great work in putting on events and activities and putting money into the economy, but we now need to look at the long-term strategies in order to ensure that people can come back to the cities. And it's important that governments also, especially state governments, provide the transport services to ensure that they can get into the city and get out of cities wherever possible.
So when we look at incentives that businesses are providing, what are the big businesses in Sydney saying to you? I mean, it's, as you point out, pretty hard to force people into an office, when they have done their job capably at home for a couple of years. But what are the big companies doing in terms of trying to get people back and mandating it, or using a carrot versus stick approach?
Well, look, I think it's important that we incentivise and encourage, not offer the carrot and stick aspect of forcing people to come in. What we want to do, and what businesses are doing, is they're offering, opportunities for staff to work together, to go out to functions together. Some businesses offering free coffee, free pizzas. There are other businesses that are showing how important it is for workers to work together and see the benefits of it. I mean, even just in my office, I encourage as many people to come into the office because we can share ideas and we can come up with solutions and strategies to deal with issues. You can't always do that online, and so therefore anything the businesses can do to encourage people to come back, and also, as we can sort of see, businesses are looking at their offices, refurbishing them and putting on activities in the office to encourage people to come back. Also, we're seeing government, especially local governments, that are providing childcare facilities and other services in the community to assist in bringing people back into the city. So we've got to look at long-term strategies rather than short-term. And I think it's important that we all work together to find the solutions to encourage people to come back to the offices in the CBDs across the country.
And Paul, as someone who's had a lot of business experience over the years, do you see this being particularly important for younger people who are perhaps starting out or progressing their careers to actually have that face time with their bosses?
Oh, for the next generation of business leaders, it's vital, Ash, and that's the only way you're going to learn. You know, you can do as much as possible on Teams or Zooms, but without having that personal interaction is very difficult. And that's why if we've got to ensure the next generation of business leaders have got as much experience and learn a lot. I mean, you know, they're going to learn a lot when they're in front of their peers. They're going to learn a lot by watching other people do their jobs, and having them there in the office is going to play an important role in helping them and helping them for the future. And that's where the whole aspect of well-being and also, you know, the mental health aspect is so important. And as we can sort of see through experience, is that having people working together improves, you know, their workflow, improves their enthusiasm and drive and passion, and you can't always get that from being on Teams or on Zoom.
Paul, we've just been reporting on retail sales figures. They just came out last hour showing a pretty significant drop that probably doesn't come as a big surprise to you. I'm wondering, though, about the small business owner in the city. I'm thinking corner stores, small cafes. Have a significant portion of those gone under over the pandemic years or are most battling on? How are they doing?
Oh, look, some are battling on, others have closed down, and you can walk through many of the cities across the country and you can see stores that have closed down, or coffee shops have closed down, or even restaurants. It's not just COVID, but we've also struggled in finding staff. One of the biggest issues that small and medium-sized businesses have been telling us is they can't find the staff, because last year we had a lot of people who normally come to Australia, that is a lot of backpackers. They've been spending their time in Europe because it was their summer, and it's only in the latter part of this last year that we saw some of them come back to our summer and being able to get jobs in the hospitality tourism space. And then you've had other businesses who rely heavily on overseas students, and as we all know, overseas students haven't been coming in, and now we're starting to see a large number of them coming back. And I think the recent announcement by the Chinese government about students studying online now have to be getting their degrees by face-to-face tuition. We'll see a large number of students now come in, which will then also help businesses find staff, because those students and those backpackers that are coming in the city want jobs, and I think this will be an opportunity for those businesses to take on those new workers that are coming in to Australia. But you're right, I mean, a lot of businesses have really suffered because of COVID, but also have suffered a lot because of the lack of staff.
Paul Nicolaou, I think we can all agree with you. We'd all love to see 2023 be the year that Sydney gets its mojo fully back. Really appreciate you talking with us. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Ash.